Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where I explore what it takes to live life on your own terms, break free from the status quo, and unleash your inner badass. Whether you're a rebel at heart or simply seeking inspiration to step outside your comfort zone, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and each week I dive into the stories, insights, and strategies of those who have mastered the art of badassery and are living life to the fullest. They smile when no one is looking. Welcome to the Art of Badassery podcast. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and today we've got Nan Saysana in the house, a badass Parisian turning 50 who's all about empowering others. She used to teach English for ages, but stumbled upon life coaching through Brooke Castillo's podcast, and well, the rest is history. Nan has been rocking it as a coach since 2019, both with Brooke School and her private clients. A Wonder Woman fan from day one, she's all about spreading the empowerment magic. Besides that, she loves strolling through Paris, whether with her family or by herself after a great restaurant meal. And she's absolutely crazy about her cat, Eva. Stick around as we chat with her about her journey, walking in Paris, and of course, the feline joys of life. This is the Art of Badassery podcast, where real people share real stories about embracing the badass within. Let's jump into it. Nan, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. What a great introduction. It's fantastic to be here. Such an honor, too.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I feel like the honor is mine. And it's one of these things that I've been working on and I talk to my clients about, which is this idea of gratitude. And sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so lucky to be me. I get to meet somebody new today. So please know that the honor is actually mine. Nan.
Shared.
Okay, so you live in Paris today. Have you been there all your life?
Well, mostly, yes, mostly. I spent a year and a half maybe in Oxford, where I studied doing my master's degree. I was an English student studying linguistics, and I love words. And yeah, it's very useful in my new career where words really matter. Words can change lives. So yeah.
Okay, I love that you see the appreciation and the power of words, because it's a big part of what I do as well, and what I've learned on this journey. And I think it's such a shame that so many of us have shied away from our language of choice, in so much as we have allowed ourselves to become very lazy, you know? And one of the reasons why I think it's so important that we talk about this is there is such a wealth of information within our own languages, if we would just give ourselves permission to go there. So I digress a bit, but let's talk about, tell me about your idea for yourself when you were in Oxford. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Ooh. So when I was a child, I wanted to be a novelist. I really wanted to write. I really want to play with words and create, with my imagination, a whole story, a whole background, whole characters. And what I love in novels actually is being aware of what's going on in somebody's brain. I think I was always super curious about the behind the scenes, what's going on that we can't see actually. And yeah, this idea of being in a parallel universe, also that's something exciting, and being, super, going deep into the intricate goings of the human brain, that always fascinated me. It was always something very pleasurable, but I didn't become a novelist, and that's fine.
So as a child, you were interested in writing, and I love how you recognized so early on that there was actually writing between the lines. A brilliant novelist takes you there, whether you realize it or not, right? So that's beautiful. When you went to Oxford, was it to become a teacher?
Yes, I think, well, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but it was the usual path. You study English, you're good at it, you speak English. So yes, the next step is to teach it. And that's what I did. It came as a surprise, actually. When I was in Oxford, I still wanted to study in France, just, so that when I came back to France, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have lost momentum maybe with the studying part. And so I registered for a competitive exam to become a teacher in France. And to my surprise, I passed it. So there I was. I became a teacher and I loved it. So it was a kind of a revelation. I loved sharing with people what I thought was fantastic, the English language, and that I thought they didn't know and wanted to learn. So that was really, really nice, sharing words, sharing my love for words.
What was it about that experience that filled your cup?
Mm, yeah. I think really, when I think about that, I love your question. It's really, it's not technically the English language and studying this or that, but really understanding what my students didn't understand and really bridging this gap. Okay, this is what I'm teaching them, and I think I'm clear. And yet, somehow, part of my information is not getting through to them. So what's happening there? Is it me? Am I not being clear? Perfectly fine. Or is there something else on their mind that prevents them from actually hearing what I'm saying? And it's just, this was fascinating to me. And I really made it super clear, like a game, to say it the most clearly I could when I wanted to share information with them. And if they didn't get it, to be able to rephrase it again and again. And I remember one student actually playing with me. I didn't realize it at first, but just, okay, I don't understand what you're saying this. So I rephrased it and I still don't understand. Explain differently. And I would, and I would. And after a while, I realized he was kidding me. He was making fun of me and he really he wanted to see how far I could go in explaining, rephrasing it again and again. So he would get it.
But isn't it interesting that really one of the most important skills that we can have as a human being, I think, is the skill of communicating? Because so many of us, we ask a question to answer again rather than to hear the answer. Do you know what I mean? We just sort of jump in and we want the conversation to go in a certain way. But what a beautiful experience to recognize at such a young age in your career that there is more to communication than just speaking.
Totally. Yes.
Right. There's more. And I'm not surprised. By the way, guys, I'm not surprised she became a life coach, because this is like the beginning. This is what we do, is we hear what's not being said as life coaches. But going back to being a young teacher in Paris, was there anything that you learned about yourself other than it was a surprise that you passed?
Right. So what I learned is, it's so funny now I think of it, but the main thing that shocked me really was that, okay, I passed a competitive exam. So I thought, okay, now I must know everything about the English language because I passed. And what a surprise to realize that, no, there's still so much to learn, especially with English, and so many people all over the world speaking English with their own, not dialects, but, specialties. And it was so interesting. It was so humbling, really, to realize that, yes, I may have reached a certain level, but my students may have spent some time in New York and they know things about New York that I don't yet. So it was really remembering that, yes, I may have reached a certain level. There's still more for me to learn, which was a relief too, because I love learning. And it's okay. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be perfect. I can still help my students, and it can still be, you were talking about communicating, I can still get something from them too. It's not just a one-way street. It's just the exchange is on both ways. And that's really so much better.
Wow, so much badassery in that, what you've just shared with us. I want to point out a few things that struck home for me. Number one, we've been raised in a society that tells us if you have an accomplishment, that's good. Like you've raised yourself up a bit. But the reality is, getting the accomplishment, the validation, whether it is a certificate or a good job or a pay raise, is just the beginning of our journey of learning and growth. It's just the beginning. And it is badass to admit that. I think it's very badass to say, you know what? I'm no better than the next person. I'm learning with you. And to gently put your hand out and say, can I join you on this journey? And I got a visual of you chatting with your students, and it was the same idea, like, wow, I've never been to New York, but I recognize that I can learn from this person. Not she can or he can learn from me, but I'm going to learn from them. And what a beautiful example of being human and being in a community. So total badassery. I love that. And that's, of course, what we're talking about today. What did you learn about yourself as a teacher?
Hmm. So I learned that I used to be very shy, very an introvert, keeping to myself. And I actually learned that I loved speaking. I loved speaking to other people, even a class of 30, some, I even had 37 students at one time. That didn't frighten me. So that was really intriguing to me that, okay, I can be very shy in one case, but at the same time, I also feel super confident when I'm in a class. And I learned that it was because I was thinking, okay, there's something for me to bring them, to give them. Whereas when I'm in a small group of people where I think, oh, well, no, they're so much better than me. Of course, then I'll shut down. So that was a revelation that I could be different. I could talk. I could talk confidently. That was really nice to find that out.
Everything that comes out of your mouth is a lesson in badassery. So what I heard was, when I stand in my truth and feel confident that I can contribute, I'm not afraid. And I don't feel that I need to be quiet. The flip side of that is when I am feeling disconnected, not important, or not good enough, then I close up. So there's such a revelation in that recognition that part of being a badass is recognizing that we matter. Whether we have something to contribute to the conversation or not, for example, it doesn't take away our matteredness, right? It doesn't take away that we belong and that we should be, that we are exactly where we're meant to be. But you said something, and I want to go back to that. You said, when I'm not afraid. What does frighten you?
Well, it's exactly as you said, the not good enoughness, this idea that, yes, they're better than me. And so, exactly as you said, in that situation, I can't contribute. There's nothing I can say that will bring something to the conversation or change their perspective. And it's so interesting because when you said, I can contribute, this is exactly what I'm thinking today with you. It's just, yes, there's something for me to contribute. And it's so interesting that I believe that. And I'm certain of that here now. And yeah, I must challenge this thought that no, there's nothing for me to bring. I don't matter in some situation. And this is something I really want to explore next
That's
time it
so
happens.
that's so beautiful. But I'm curious, and I had this conversation with a dear friend yesterday. How do we stop ourselves in that moment from jumping down the rabbit hole of fear when we feel it? And of course, there's lots of different methods and methodologies and ideas. But I'm curious, what do you do, Nan, when all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've got that feeling in my belly that I don't feel safe? Can I ask, can you share with us what it is that you do specifically to help you with that?
Totally. So I think the first thing to consider is, because I know this pattern, I know that I tend to shut down, to close up when I'm in a particular situation. And so I could expect that. And if I know it's going to happen, if I'm aware it's going to happen, then it's fantastic because I can bring a strategy to this. And one thing that I love to do is just not argue with what's going to happen, but just simply tell myself, oh, of course, this is the time when I tell myself, I don't matter. I can't contribute. It makes perfect sense. Doesn't mean it's true. It just means that in that moment, this is what I believe. But I could challenge it too. And so it's really having this inner dialogue with myself. That, oh, you think that? But let's explore. And maybe it's not true. The trick is being in my space, in my head, and also listening to the conversation at the same time to see that maybe at some point I could contribute, just maybe with a little thing. It doesn't have to be much. But it's really being where I am and also exploring if it's the only option, just this fear, or is there something else that I could do? As you said, to feel safe. Just I don't have to contribute if I don't want to, but maybe I could if I want to.
So powerful. I think for myself, one of the things that's really helped me is really understanding that the universe has my back. And if I'm here, it's for a reason. and when I say here, I don't mean born. I'm past that. I know I'm here for a reason. But if I'm in a situation where I feel fear or whatever I'm feeling,
Mm,
like you, I'm now able to go, okay, what's the lesson here?
mm,
The other thing I wanted to point out is that I've noticed so many of my clients, and I think I was the same way as well. I didn't realize that there was a soundtrack playing in my mind
mm.
because I had heard my voice all my life in my head saying things, limiting beliefs or whatever, even good things, bad things, everything in the middle. I have a constant dialogue. And
Mm-mm.
many of my clients, first of all, didn't realize that, but when they did realize that, they were aghast. I love that word. They were aghast at what they heard. So I think to your point, this idea of just slowing down and really paying attention and then getting very curious. Wow, that's what I'm thinking. Where did that come from? It's not easy, right? I don't
No,
think, but it's what makes us human.
totally. Yes, it's our ability to think about what we're thinking. It's
Yeah.
very meta. It's just, yes, I'm thinking something. Oh, and I can think about what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. Yes, we've heard this voice all our life, so we don't question it. It's part of our environment. It's a habit, but actually, yeah, we can challenge it. We can change it if we want to. If we, it's like playing a radio, and I love what you said about soundtrack. It's like playing a radio. Okay, this channel is not serving me anymore. Let's see what other channels are available to me, and would they be preferable? Would they be better for me? Would I feel better if I changed
Yeah. I
that?
think what I'm hearing really is this idea of once we recognize our value,
Mm,
then we give ourselves permission to go further.
mm,
And I think I see so many people that are going through life so quickly with such determination. I've gotta be, I'm gonna be, I gotta. No, just, when I will be happy when I've got the promotion. I will be
mm,
happy when I lose weight. That was a big one for me. I've struggled with
mm,
my weight most of my life. And so that was a big belief. And it's such a revelation to us as human beings, I think, when we realize that we actually don't have to be anything other than ourselves.
I
But it
love it.
requires such a level of trust, not
Mm,
only in the process, but also in life itself. And I
mhm,
know that, you know, many of us have not been born into a situation that fosters trust and safety. And
mhm,
there's a lot of drama and challenges and pain and sadness in the world. But what I think is so powerful in your story, Nan, is we do have a choice.
mhm,
We do have a choice. And that's the journey. Do you choose to be
mhm.
on the journey of growth or journey of exploration? Whether you grow or not is sort of the end result. Or do you choose to, for whatever reason, stay put and become more and more insular?
Mm-mm.
Oh, great conversation.
Mhm.
I want to know about Paris. I've never been,
Okay.
and I want to know. And the reason I'm asking is this: the minute I read that you were Parisian, I had this vision of, a 1950s outfit. Everything, the streets are clean, there's beautiful music in the background, and it was very romantic. And I think the world has romanticized Paris.
Mm,
And I would love to hear your version of Paris.
right. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your question. I love Paris. Actually, when I say I've been a Parisian all my life, it's not technically true because I was born in the suburbs of Paris. And so the lifestyle is a bit different. But my mom was born in Paris, and I've always wanted to be a Parisian. So when I became a teacher, that was my opportunity to leave my parents' house and have my own flat in Paris. And I love what I love in Paris may not be what tourists love in Paris, the Eiffel Tower. Of course, it's fantastic. All the monuments, all the sites, fantastic. But what I love most about Paris is all the it's a mini world. There are so many different people with so many different culture. It's a melting pot, and I love that. I love that when you take the metro, you can go from an area that's more, um, with I don't know how to say it, but maybe workers, and then you take the metro and you go to the end of the station, the end of the line, and you end up in the very pretty area where there are nannies taking care of the kids and so on. So I love that. I love that mixity of different people and languages too. I love languages, as you've noticed. And so wherever you go, you're going to hear French people speaking, but also English and so many other languages. And I love that you're always surprised. Something else that I love about Paris is that everything is within reach. And by that, I mean that if I need to go to the bakery, well, there's one at the bottom of my building. If I need to go to the doctor, okay, I've got plenty of options. Whereas, of course, when you go to the countryside, well, it's not as convenient. And I don't like driving, which is why I love living in Paris. I can walk anywhere I want. Paris is not very big as a city compared to London, for instance, or New York. And so you can walk wherever you want to go if you want to. It's rainy today, so not the most pleasant thing, but yeah. So I love that. And I love that you have this romanticized vision of Paris, which we can find in so many movies. And I also love that version. But the clean streets, not so much. I think it's much better than it used to be, because now dog owners get fined if, their dog drops things in places. So it's become the norm, but still, it's not the cleanest place. Is it part of its charm? Maybe.
Well, it sounds beautiful. And what I'm thinking, I'm very visual. So when you were speaking, what I got this idea of so many people, because there's so many different types of people in Paris, as in many major cities. But it sounds like Paris has given everyone permission to be. And when you see your neighbor who looks differently than you, being comfortable in this environment, it gives, I think, you permission to be comfortable in that environment. And it's very subtle. And, I'm not trying to sugarcoat life, because obviously there's lots of challenges in the world, especially now. But what you painted for me, and I think for our audience, was this idea that it is possible to live in harmony with different people, with different ideas, with different languages, and to flourish in a place of what's the word I'm looking for, of such diversity. We do not need to lose ourselves. I think there's a lot of fear sometimes that someone will lose themselves in somebody else's space, but that doesn't have to be that way. And the more people that can recognize that they matter, whoever they are, it gives the next person permission to do that, walking down the street, looking at them and smiling. So that sounds so beautiful. And I think I'm going to have to put it on my wish list to go to Paris. Yes. I got a long wish list of where I want to travel. Okay. So you are living in Paris. Can you tell us how long? Well, I said from 2019, you've been doing life coaching. What can you remember the moment when you said to yourself, this is for me?
Right. So I used to be a binge eater, which means, for people who don't know what that is, that whenever I was experiencing a challenge or something, I would eat a lot of food in a very short amount of time. And that started when I was around 16. Okay. And for 30 years, I was looking for the solution. So how could I stop eating so much in so little time? And how could I feel better? And I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't find anything. But then I found life coaching, as you mentioned, Brooke Castillo. I started listening to her podcast, and it sounded weird at first. And then the more I listened to it, the better I understood it, and the better I felt too, because all of a sudden, it made sense, and I could understand why I was behaving this way. So I love that. And so I started, digging more and understanding myself better, and too little, of course, according to me at the time, because it was too slow. But slowly, but surely, I managed to start binge eating. And so that was the time when I thought, oh, this is really something important that I want to share with other people, because I know I'm not alone. I used to think I was a freak and I was alone in the world, but now I've realized that I'm not, and lots of people struggle with binge eating or simply emotional eating, but that's also already hell for them. So it was really this realization that I could change a pattern that had been my habit for so long. And that if I could change myself, of course, others could change too. And that was super powerful. It actually, the moment I realized that was when COVID started. And I could see lots of people, piling up on food just in case, out of fear of lacking, which is completely understandable. And I, who had been, um, eating so much food, I was simply not tempted at all to bring on more food than I needed. So that's when it really clicked that, oh, I'm not a binge eater anymore. Oh, I'm also a life coach, and I can see now how much I've changed. That was really the moment when it hit me.
I'm going to take a short break right now, but promise to be back with my guest soon. Hey, ladies, are you ready to level up? Join my 6-month group coaching program and get 24 live hour-long Zoom sessions with personalized guidance and a connection with a community of like-minded ladies. Get crystal clarity so you discover your passions and fuel significant growth personally and professionally. Become unapologetically authentic so you embrace your badass self and say goodbye to imposter syndrome. Grow your mindset so you attract success effortlessly. Strengthen your inner courage so you crush challenges with confidence. And set empowering boundaries so you celebrate unwavering determination. And craft your dream business so you step confidently into your future. Unleash your inner badass today and build a better business. Visit www.mindfulnesswithmahara.com to learn more and secure your spot. Here's to you. I'm giving you like hands up and clapping because that is, I think that's the secret of, or that's the meaning of us being here on this earth, is to get very clear about who we are and what we can bring to the world. And some of us bring a smile and a hug, and that's beautiful. Some of us bring the opportunity for massive change, and that's also beautiful. And I've never been a binge eater, but I have always been an emotional eater. And I worked for Weight Watchers for years. That was actually my introduction to cognitive behavioral therapy, because that's the model that the Weight Watcher leaders are trained on. And I saw that as well, this idea that, wow, my story resonates. You mean I'm not the only one that thinks chocolate is a food group? Really? Well, okay, I'm pretty good about sharing my stories. So very, very powerful to recognize that. I think one of the things, well, I know one of the things that has made such a difference in my world and that of my clients is this understanding that it is okay to be curious about yourself. Curiosity didn't kill the cat. It feeds our soul. When we recognize that it's okay to be curious, like, why did I think that? Why did I just say that to my husband? Oh my God, why does he think that? I can't tell you. Well, I've told lots of people, but the truth is, when I started life coaching and studying it, because I took a year-long certification program, I was pretty cocky. I'm like, I'm a happy girl. I got my shit together. I'm articulate. I'm happy to talk. I can coach people. I've been coaching people through, my career for years. But what I learned about myself and judgments, I tell you, I remember sitting down going, what? My mind is blown. And I said to my husband one day, we were talking and I said something and he looked at me funny and I realized we are not communicating. I've fallen into a habit of assuming that he's saying something and I didn't even hear what he said. And I was getting angry. And luckily my coaching training popped in and I went, Mahara, pull it back, start again, apologize, start again. And I do notice that my ability to communicate with my loved ones especially has improved tremendously once I recognized, they're not going to stop loving me if I question them, or if I say no, or if I set boundaries. I was so surprised when I started to set clear boundaries with my husband, and he just went, oh, okay. What mean? Oh, okay. I've been fretting about this for weeks. And you just say, oh, okay, that's unacceptable. I'm expecting a fight. Anyway, I digress. Life coaching has made a difference for luckily thousands and thousands of people. Tell us about your business right now.
Yeah. And just to go back to what you were saying about curiosity, I love that it's okay to be curious. And I like to picture myself as a life coach, as a detective, and Sherlock Holmes or Miss Marple, and just, okay, we're going to get to the end of the matter and we're going to figure it out. And there must be a solution. So I love that you said, because I agree with you. Curiosity didn't kill the cat. No, I agree. Yes. So
It's so
yeah,
funny. Oh,
go
sorry. I just
ahead.
wanted to jump in and say that I also love this idea of being a detective, and I use it in one of my tools that I've come up with about clarity, which is I invite my students to pretend to be Columbo, the famous TV detective,
Perfect.
because he was asked, nobody liked him because he asked these crazy questions, but he always figured it out. And it was because he was relentless with asking questions.
Yes.
So, okay, Nan, you and I are very similar. Just
Yes,
saying,
that's so
very
fun.
similar. Okay, so that's my little thing about being a detective.
Mhm.
The floor is yours. I can't even remember what I asked you, to
I
be
think you
honest.
were asking me about my business. What do you
Oh,
want to
yeah,
know
right.
about my business?
Yes. Well, I want to know, do you work online, in person,
Mhm.
one-on-one, in group coaching? Is there
Right.
a particular modality that you use? Just tell
Right.
us a little bit about it.
I do work online. That's so convenient because I can work with all the people around the world in English, but also in French. And it's one-to-one because I like to dive deep with one particular person and really see the particular words that they're using that's creating their reality and how we can shift it, maybe with just one word, or and craft another sentence and craft another reality for them so that they feel so much better. Yes. Mm.
Oh, so powerful.
Mm. And so yeah, I coach them on their food plan, basically, because maybe they've been given a food plan by a sports coach, a fitness coach, or a physician, or maybe a specialist, a professional healthcare specialist, and they've been given that food plan and they're having a hard time sticking to it, as I did for so many years. And so we really go through this process of understanding what's happening that's making them not being able to stick to the food plan and have something else instead, or have some more than the plan said. And once we understand that, this awareness alone can be enough to change their behavior. Or if not, it's okay. We learn how to decrease the longing they have for the extra food. And there's plenty of ways to do that, which is super fun. And then, of course, it's super easy to decline the food that's actually not on the food plan, so that they can stick to the food plan and reap, well, the benefits, the health benefits, maybe the weight loss, or maybe the muscle gain, or reducing the diabetic medication, or things like that. And it's really such a wonderful work to see people change before your eyes day with your own clients, and just to realize that you're helping improve the quality of life of somebody that matters and that can have an impact. This person will have a different impact, a bigger impact on the lives of the people that surround them. So that's really such a privilege.
It is an absolute privilege. Nan, I'd love to know about your cat. And the reason I'm asking is that my cat has taught me so much.
Mm.
I've had cats all my life, but what has your cat, Eva, taught you?
Right. So much. And at the same time, it's difficult. Well, so she's a rescue cat. She was 3 years old when we adopted her 3 years ago. And first of all, I think she's taught me unconditional love, and how we can also be patient. Because to begin with, when we adopted her, she was very shy. She was probably very afraid. We don't know really what happened in her past. So it took a while before she actually jumped in my lap for the first time. So she taught me patience. And now we cuddle, we snuggle every day. So that's really good. And she taught me that um, she knows what she wants. When she wants to snuggle, she nudges us with her head, and that's pure love. And you feel so appreciated, so loved when she does that. It's just wonderful. She's also teaching me to play, because I can be very serious, very focused, very determined. And she's teaching me how to play and how to relax. And also, we were talking about curiosity and how to create curiosity by, having a toy here, but you can't see it clearly. And what am I going to do with the toy? And I'm going up, and you think I'm going down. And just playing, be more playful. Yeah, that's.
So is
Mhm.
it possible, Nan, that the universe brought you this little kitty cat at the right time for the right reason? Because those are pretty big and important and beautiful lessons that this stray cat has taught you.
Mm-mm. Totally. And I think actually the biggest lesson she's taught me is that I had a cat previously who passed away when she was 14, and my daughter was only 8 months old. And I had this story that it took us 8 years to create this beautiful baby, and my cat passed away just after the baby was born. And I had this story that, oh, I couldn't have everything. You love the cat, you love the baby, but you can't have both. And I felt so much guilt. It's as if I had killed my cat, which of course is nonsense. But in my brain, that's the story I was running. And so I needed a lot of, I think, 9 years before I felt built the confidence to have another cat and to think, okay, I hope everything will be okay. And actually, the cat is loved by me, but I loved her before she even came home. But also by my kids. My kids adore her. It's mutual, and even my husband has got this thing with her. So it's really helped release the guilt and build that acceptance that yes, my first cat was supposed to die. I didn't make it die. The time had come, and that's it. And it's okay.
Nan, that's a beautiful story. And it's a very powerful recognition that all is well in our world, even
Mm,
if we're uncomfortable in it.
mm.
There is a lesson in it, right? There's always something for us to learn. Um, so thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome.
Oh, what's on the horizon for you moving forward?
Mm. What's on the horizon? Well, I'm so dedicated to my clients that I think that's the only thing that I want to see. And it's yes, it's really helping them to the best of my abilities, and to create the safest environment for them to thrive. That's really the main focus. And also behind the scene, yeah, having a lot of fun discovering Paris. I'm actually bodybuilding right now. Now I'm able to stick to a food plan with no problem. I'm actually learning how to bodybuild, and part of the program that I'm in includes walking 10,000 steps. So I'm thinking it's fantastic. I can walk in Paris and discover places that I didn't even know existed. So that's what's on the horizon. It's just more
I I
discoveries.
love it. I love it. More discoveries and more badassery.
Mm.
What are some of your favorite words in English or French? Are there any
Mm.
words that you just come up go with that? That's such a great word. I'm curious.
Oh, I love that. I think connection is, it's not just the word, because the word in itself is not particularly pretty, but it's the meaning. It's just connection. It was actually my word, for 2023.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to connect, because I had that story that I was completely unable to connect. It's a shy little me, the introvert, could not, you know, create anything, interact with anyone. And I proved myself wrong. But not only did I prove myself wrong towards others, but also towards myself, because I learned how to deeply connect with myself. But also, I love connecting different things, different concepts. Um, yes, and making turning them into something new. Or connecting two things, two events that are happening, and seeing the coincidences or the similarities. That's something that I love. So it's really this concept of connection that I think is so rich and makes our life so much fulfilling.
That's so beautiful. And I could picture it. As I've said, I'm a very visual thinker. And connection is action. The minute you say it, you see
Mm.
there's two sides or more. And there's always there's more. If you've got one connection, guaranteed there's more connections go on and on and on. It's like that. Do you remember, maybe you didn't see it, but in the 70s, there was a commercial by L'Oreal, and it said, basically, if you love our shampoo, you're going to tell 2 friends, and so on, because each friend will tell 2 friends. And it makes me think of this idea of connection. When things are good, even when things are not so good, human beings love to connect. It's in our DNA, I think. So, okay, so connection was your word for last year. What's your word for this year?
Right. Thank you for asking. So actually, it's not a word, it's a sentence, it's a question. Okay. Because, well, going back to the binge eating years, after failing and failing and failing at doing this, I realized that I stopped dreaming of a future because it seemed impossible anyway. Whenever I gave myself the challenge of losing weight or, eating what I said I would eat, and I realized I wasn't able to, I was thinking, okay, there's no point dreaming and having goals because you can never reach them. So stop dreaming. But actually, now that this is behind me, my question is, how big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail?
So powerful. So let's put a challenge out to our listeners. How big will you dream if you knew that you couldn't fail? If you knew that the universe had your back? If you knew that there were forces on this plane and on another plane, and maybe even multiple planes, that are supporting you and are cheering you on, how big would you dream? That's a great question. Thank you for sharing that with us, because I got the goosebumps thinking about that. It reminds me that fairly recently I had a visual, that I had an understanding. I was listening to an audiobook about the soul's journey. I can't think of the author, Dr. Michael something. And in it, I had an epiphany. It was actually a memory of being this. We're going into woo-woo territory now, listeners, but I had a memory of being elsewhere. And because of that, I understood and I feel and I see, when I give myself permission, that I have spirit guides that are just watching every move I make. And they're going, Mahara, move to the left. Mahara, open the blind. Okay, she didn't get it this time. Let's try again tomorrow. So I have this visual of a whole bunch of people, friends, new friends, old friends in this lifetime that are helping me, and people on a spirit plane, perhaps loved ones that have passed or people that I've never met in this lifetime, that really want me to succeed. And I truly believe that we all have that. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn and grow. But when I visualize this, you got it, you got it, you got it, then I realized, well, why am I just thinking about going down the corner when I can go to Paris? Why am I stopping at, wow, I want to write a book. Why don't I want to write a whole bunch of books. So it's interesting what the human mind can do when we give it permission to do whatever. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I love your vision. And I'm thinking that if we think we're supported by lots of friends guiding us, then yeah, it must seem effortless to actually take action, rather than, I know that I tend to, have a lot of fears or a lot of doubts. But if the universe has your own back, as you've been saying, of course, then why not try? The worst you can do is learn a lesson. Why not?
Well, it's so interesting that you say that, because I just finished recording. I'm working on a set of master classes for my clients, well, for anybody. But I believe that it's never a mistake if you learn from it. So many of us believe that we're not worthy of the learning. So we just take the pain. But when we understand that we are worthy of learning, and that's why we're having this experience, then it's like, okay, I totally screwed up in that, but oh my God, look what I've learned. I'm never going to do that again. And because of that mistake, I realized I don't like my job. Yeah, I actually can admit it now. And it's allowed me to move on. So whatever the circumstances, I believe and I honor every opportunity for growth. Often it comes with what we're not to do. but it does open another door. What's that saying? When one door closes, another one opens. Just be aware of it and open to it, because the universe does have our back. So another little woo-woo sidestep there. But all right, what don't we know about you as we wrap this up?
I feel that I've said everything about me. What else? What don't you know about me?
All right, I've got a question. This will help answer that. Why did you answer my request to be on my show, All About Badassery? So what is it about you that made you think I'm a badass and I have to be on Mahara's show?
Right. Oh, I love that question. Yes. So I think, it's stepping into that new identity that, yes, I'm a badass. And I love the title, The Art of Badassery. Come on.
I know, it's a great title. Thank you.
I love the title. Yes. And well, when I was a kid, so I wanted to be a novelist, but also when I first saw, this TV show, the Wonder Woman, I felt that I could be this woman. And so it's this vision in my brain that I've always wanted to be her, to be like her. And so when I saw what you were doing, I was thinking, but yeah, that's badassery, Wonder Woman, same thing. For me, it's the same thing. It's somebody who overcomes challenges with their own resources, who overcomes difficult challenges and so on. And yes, that's me. I don't know, it resonated with me. And I think it came from recognizing that, yes, what I've done is not easy. Some people don't overcome binge eating, don't change career either, don't live their dream life as a life coach in Paris. But I've done that. And so maybe I can accept and celebrate that I am a badass. And so it was also stretching myself, appearing on this podcast, meeting somebody new, being listened by millions of people, of course. That's also stretching myself out of my comfort zone. But because I'm Wonder Woman, no problem. I can do this. It's perfect. Oh. It's a sign. It's a wink from the universe, maybe.
It is. You know what? It's a win-win for everybody when women in particular step into their badassery. And tongue in cheek, obviously, I call myself the badass coach, and the art of badassery is kind of, tongue in cheek. But all joking aside, magic happens when we recognize that we matter. And I say to anybody that will listen, all you need to do is put your hand on your heart and say, I matter. And I am more than my beliefs. I am more than my situation. Because as human beings, we all find ourselves in challenging situations or upsetting or difficult situations. But we are more than that. We are spiritual beings that have chosen to have a human existence. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Nobody said being human was easy. And if they did, they lied. But it can be beautiful. And we do have choices. So, Nan, I want to thank you for saying yes and sharing. And I also want to thank you for that incredibly gracious thought that millions of people are listening to my podcast, because, you speak it into existence. But really, I want to thank you for your honesty, because you're a beautiful soul. You do matter. You're doing very important work. And we need everybody to step up into their greatness, whatever that looks like. Some of us are meant to be leaders and coaches, and some of us are meant to be mamas that hug and kiss, and some of us are meant to be truck drivers. It doesn't matter. But whatever you feel is your calling, know that you are badass enough to go after it. If you need help doing that, then there's people like Nan and I to do that. And by the way, guys, check the show notes, because all of the ways that you can connect with Nan will be in the show notes. My name is Mahara. This has been The Art of Badassery with my very special guest, Nan Saysana from Paris. And I want to say thank you for listening today, and I'll see you next week on The Art of Badassery. Take care, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to The Art of Badassery. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights to help unleash your inner badass. If you found this podcast helpful, please leave a rating or review on your favorite platform. Your feedback not only helps me improve the show, but it also helps others like yourself discover the podcast. Until next time, keep embracing your authenticity and living life on your terms. Here's to you.